Hello, and thank you for joining us for tonight's USGS public lecture. We are happy you have taken an interest in USGS science. My name is Mitch, and I will be your host and moderator today. I have some quick announcements to make before I introduce our speaker. Next month's public lecture will be on July 20th, 2023, when Andrea Creighton from the U.S. Water Science Center will talk about snowpack dynamics. So please remember to join us at 6 p.m. Pacific time on July 20th. If you are watching this from a desktop computer and you need to turn on closed captioning, please look at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen for the closed caption icon. It's the one with the two little C's. You can also use stream text for captioning. Please see the stream text link provided in the question and answer window. To access that question and answer panel, you can click on the question mark icon in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. At the end of the lecture, we will have a question and answer session, and this is the panel where you can submit your questions to a speaker. And now it's time to introduce you to tonight's speaker. Joining us tonight is Ariel Dumboyer. Ariel is a cartographic products lead for the U.S. Geological Survey's National Geospatial Program. Ariel has worked at the USGS for 15 years with a background and passion in geographic information systems, water, and cartography. In her current role, she provides leadership for USGS topographic map products, including technical guidance, map design, map content, and future capabilities. Without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Ariel.
All right. Hello, and thank you to the organizers and to all of you for joining this presentation. Again, my name is Ariel Dumboya, and today I'm going to be sharing information with you all on some of our existing topographic map products, as well as some advancements in the USGS topographic map offerings, which are available to you all right now. Before we get going, here is a little bit more about me and an overview of the topics that I'll be covering today. I am based out of Denver, Colorado, but was born in Alaska and still consider that home. In 2008, I started with USGS as a student and have worked in both our hydrography and cartography programs. For our agenda today, I'll do my best to keep the history lesson brief, and the technology information will be sprinkled throughout the presentation. What I'm really hoping you all come away with is information on our historic, current, and our newest digital topographic map products, as well as how to find them, access them, where to learn more, and why this is important for USGS and you as consumers of our products and services. The USGS was entrusted with mapping the nation in 1879 and has been the primary civilian mapping agency of the United States ever since. This heritage was largely established by John Wesley Powell, the second director of USGS. USGS topographic maps fall into three primary product categories. First, we have the Historical Topographic Map Collection, or HTMC, and this is the set of scanned images of USGS topographic quadrangle maps, which were originally published as paper documents in the periods from 1884 to 2006. US Topo is our second product and is the current USGS topographic map series for the nation. These are modeled on the legacy 7.5-minute maps, but are mass-produced from GIS databases of the national map and published as digital documents. The last category is OnDemand Topo, and OnDemand Topos are USGS-style topographic maps created using the topoBuilder application. These maps are generated upon request using the best available data from the national map and offer customizations such as choice of format, area of interest, and national map content. The mission of the National Geospatial Program, where I work, is to provide national topographic information to advance science, support government, enlighten citizens, and enable decision-making. We do that by providing a foundation of digital geospatial data representing the topography, natural landscape, and man-made environment of the United States. The National Geospatial Program has many components, which include things such as the National Map, the 3D Elevation Program, National Hydrography, and Geographic Names, to name a few. Today, we'll be focusing on the National Map. The National Map was formed in the early 2000s as a means to establish a seamless, continuously maintained set of public domain geographic-based information. The National Map currently consists of 8 data themes, and a variety of federal partnerships exist to support the National Map to ensure national consistency and authoritative data is represented within the data holdings. Our goals are to serve the geospatial community by providing high-quality, integrated geospatial data and improved products and services, including our new generation of digital topographic maps. So who contributes to the National Map? The National Map data is a collaboration from local, state, and federal agencies. These agencies work with USGS to ensure the data is up to date and ready for things like US Topo production. As you can see, there are a lot of contributors that make the National Map what it is today. So what are the 8 base layers of the National Map? Those layers are elevation, which is used to generate contours and shaded relief, hydrography, geographic names, land cover, boundaries, transportation, structures, and imagery. Ultimately, these 8 base layers come together to create the content found on USGS topographic maps. Data in support of the National Map, as well as current and past US Topo products, can be found and downloaded anytime through a web application called the National Map Downloader. Now let's talk a little bit about USGS, the USGS Historic Topographic Map Collection, or again, HTMC. The Historical Topographic Map Collection is the group of all USGS topo maps. These maps were produced as early as the 1880s and are available in several scales nationwide. As of today, there are approximately 185,000 scans available through digital repositories to the public at no cost. Historical topographic maps range in scale and extent from 1 to 24,000 to 1 to 250,000 scale. It is important to note that HTMC maps are not layered PDFs, but a flat scanned file. They do, however, include a metadata attachment. The files are captured using consistent, high-quality specifications to preserve the print resolution and are offered in multiple formats. As all files are geo-referenced, meaning they are tied to a known Earth coordinate system, these maps can be imported into GIS systems for analysis or used on your mobile devices. USGS is continuing to scan and release additional scans of historic USGS topographic maps as additional items are identified as missing from the collection. In some cases, the original scans were not as high quality as the specifications required, or some georeferencing and metadata errors existed. These scans are also being corrected as the errors are identified. I'd like to note that these errors are a natural occurrence and relatively rare due to the automated and semi-automated technologies that were used in the original processing of the bulk of the collection. USGS welcomes customer comments on any errors identified in the collection, as we wish to ensure high quality and consistency of these maps. Historical topographic maps can be found and downloaded through a web application called TopoView. TopoView provides not only historic topographic maps, but also current US topos for download. To use the TopoView application, first set the date slider and map scale. In this case, I've selected 1880 through 1950 and 100K scale. Zoom in and select your desired map, and then click on the format link to download shown in the red box. Here is an overview of our main web page for the USGS historical topographic maps if you'd like to learn more. FAQs, or frequently asked questions, are linked from the HTMC webpage and provide valuable information on a variety of topics. The HTMC webpage also includes links to our latest fact sheet and user's guide. From the 1880s through the advent of computer technology, topographic maps have served as the essential instrument for the integration and analysis of place-based information. USGS mapping techniques evolved over 140 plus years, from field surveys to photogrammetry to the GIS analysis currently in widespread use. This forms the basis of the technology behind our historic topographic map collection. Our US Topo program was a transition to a more modern digital production that leveraged process automation through server infrastructure production to a distributed cloud environment. This enabled the use of big data and relational data, and in addition, USGS was able to streamline and stabilize our production processes to create more consistent products. So now let's talk about the results of that technology advancement and where we are with our US Topo program. So let's begin with the basics. What is a US Topo anyways? So US Topos are digital USGS topographic maps. These are modeled from the traditional 7.5-minute paper maps, which were produced from 1880 through 2006. US Topos are regularly updated to provide the nationally consistent coverage. From its start, US Topos were updated every 3 years, with some exceptions in Hawaii, Alaska, and the US Virgin Islands. Going forward, US Topos will be produced on a new schedule based on content changes. Every map includes imagery, shaded relief, transportation, and hydrography, as well as other data layers. US Topo products are 1 to 24,000 scale topographic maps produced for the entire United States. They are free and immediate downloads to anyone, but there is no customization options, and they are created in preset 7.5-minute quadrangles. US Topo maps are created through a semi-automated workflow, with most of the manual components being tied to annotation, which is how we put our labels on the maps, and quality assurance review and checks. We have historically produced 1/3 of the country each year, so that means the maps were always no more than 3 years old. So looking at a little timeline here, the US Topos were publicly launched in December of 2009, and the maps were initially published using the Terago Technologies patented format of GeoPDF. In 2013, the first maps outside of the continental US were added. These included Hawaii, Puerto Rico, the US Virgin Islands, and Alaska. For a variety of technical reasons, USGS made a decision to move to a geospatial PDF format in 2014. 2017 marked another huge milestone for the program with the modernization of our production systems, which included setting a standard scale, extent, projection, datum, coordinate system, and grid information. This modernization helped the USGS ensure that all US Topo maps had the same cartography, page layout, layering, metadata, and other characteristics. This modernization set the stage for where we are today with topoBuilder. GIS-based cartography and remotely collected source material really enabled automated processes and decreased our map production time from hundreds of hours to about a day. The US Topo program strived to republish all of the 55,000 maps in the continental US, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico on that 3-year cycle, while adding over 10,000 additional maps at a scale of 1 to 25,000 in Alaska. The first 3-year cycle was completed in 2012, and Alaska was completed in 2021. This required the USGS to continually produce approximately 20,000 topo maps each year. US topos are created using consistent high-quality specifications, and metadata information is specific to that map. For example, if no wetlands are within the map extent, that information will not be in the metadata. As with HTMC, all files are geo-referenced, so these maps can also be imported into a GIS system for analysis or use on a mobile device. Some limited interactive PDF capabilities are available, which you can learn about on our website or from our training videos. USGS is continuing to produce and provide new US topos. These maps are available to users at no cost and can be downloaded immediately. As stated earlier, US topos require a specific standard be applied to the product, which includes content. USGS is continually evaluating and adding appropriate content as data is identified to meet the identified specifications. Within this category, USGS and our partners have made significant updates to data over the Pacific territories of the United States. With these data improvements, USGS plans to incorporate the Pacific territories into the US Topo production schedule wherever data now meets our specification. In addition, USGS is continuing to evaluate opportunities to improve and automate our production processes in order to deliver timely, high-quality, standard national coverage of topographic information to users. This is the main webpage for US Topo, and this is a great resource where you can find updates on the US Topo production, other USGS topographic maps, as well as information on our national map data themes. This page also includes announcements for new activities. The National Geospatial Program has also released a series of how-to videos for people who are working with the national map products, data, and services. The link in the bottom right will take you to the main site for all training videos. Click on the link for topographic map videos to see videos specific to US Topo and the historic topographic maps. Several US Topo how-to videos are available, and some examples include a US Topo overview, printing US Topos, and using US Topo and historical topo maps on your mobile device. Similar to the HTMC webpage, the US Topo webpage also has frequently asked questions linked. From those FAQs, more information can be found within the US Topo, Maps General, Topographic Maps, and Geospatial Data topics. Along with the FAQs linked on the webpage, users can find additional information on US Topos from the linked US Topo Users Guide. As part of the US Topo products, a fact sheet and product standard can also be accessed from the web pages. The fact sheet is a concise overview of the US Topo maps and the mapping program itself. The product standard contains technical information about the layout and marginalia of the maps, such as those grids, projections, extent scales. and it also includes information about data quality, data sources, and metadata. So there are 4 USGS sites where topographic maps can be downloaded: the National Map Viewer, the National Map Downloader, TopoView, and the USGS Store. Now I'm going to provide a very quick overview of these sites, with the exception of TopoView, which I've already shown. First, the National Map Viewer can be used to view the exact publication dates and access the latest US topos. The US Topo Availability Service allows you to select US Topo maps for a specific area and see the most current publication date, as well as directly download the files. Secondly, the National Map Downloader is really our primary application for searching and downloading maps and digital geospatial data. There are a variety of tutorials and videos on using the National Map Downloader from the NGP training site shown earlier. Lastly, the USGS Store has several search and download features. You can use the Products dropdown to select map categories and search for those items by keyword, country, or region. The USGS Store offers free downloads and sells printed maps. The USGS Store also offers many USGS maps and publications that are not included in either the US Topo or historical topographic map collection. Although the focus of this presentation is on digital topographic maps, I also wanted to mention for awareness that the National Map provides a multitude of web services that can be used in a variety of web-based platforms. This includes base maps, theme, or data overlays, as well as other offerings that can be used in GIS desktop or online software, as well as in a standard web browser and even with apps on mobile devices. And of course, I had to put up an example of our topo base map over Wrangell St. Elias, which is where I grew up. As with the other information I've shared, there is a web page that will take you to more information on our data delivery and web map services, as well as take you directly to that list of services that I had shown on the previous slide. Now back to the technology piece a little bit. So the foundation of the US Topo modernization has set the stage for our newest product offering, which is really building on top of that server infrastructure to distributed cloud production with that big data. And this is allowing us to rapidly disseminate data and products to our end users, all of you, in a fully automated environment. So now on to our newest product offering. So in early 2022, the US Geological Survey launched a new topographic map production system. The production system is 100% automated, allowing users to request topographic maps with the best available national map data and receive their maps by email, usually within 24 hours. Today, I'll be talking about the advancements and modernizations that the USGS is continuing to develop to support your topographic mapping needs. So the web-based application is called topoBuilder, and it currently allows users to request customizable USGS topographic maps. Users can request a map when they want, where they want, and with the data content they want. The delivered map product is called an OnDemand Topo, and it is available in addition to our staged US Topo products and our HTMC files. The OnDemand Topo products will not be replacing the US Topos, but will supplement them by allowing users to access the most up-to-date data content in an on-demand environment. This means we are making maps for you, where you want, the way you want, and all of this is at no cost to the public. So before I talk about the development path and demo the application, let's do a quick review of what you're getting with an on-demand topo. So shown here is a popular place called Horseshoe Bend within the Glen Canyon Recreation Area on the Colorado River. US Topo maps are split up around the bend, but what if you want to see it all on one single topographic map? With OnDemand Topo, users are currently still limited excuse me, to a 7.5-minute quadrangle equivalent extent, but the user can center their map over their area of interest. They're not limited to the predefined quadrangles of US Topo. These maps are generated on demand using fully automated procedures, and on-demand topos offer more recent data than US Topo maps. So a little bit of timeline information before we do the demo to show where we've been for about the last year and a half. So for our initial launch in February of 2022, we had an initial set of customization options, but we weren't really sure how it would be received. We decided to do this as a public pilot to see if this was something that users would really want and use. Right after the release, we started getting feedback from users, and so we significantly improved the application for use on a mobile device. Then in May, we added the option for users to choose which national map data layers they wanted included on their maps. From there, we noticed some users were having issues with notifications, so we made some improvements, and we also improved our process related to shaded relief generation, which is also done on the fly. And then in December, we hit another big improvement milestone related to customer feedback and added an option for users to track any of their maps and orders directly from the topoBuilder application. Then in January of this year, after a highly successful pilot, we made a decision to make topoBuilder and the associated on-demand topo products a permanent offering from our program. This means we will continue to support this application and be developing additional capabilities for you all to create more types of maps with even more customization options. So before I continue on to the demo, the purpose of presenting this timeline information is to show that the system is new and evolving. We are actively developing additional map types and additional customization options. So if you don't see everything you might want or need in this demo, please check back or send us a message. As shown with that timeline and the customer feedback items, this is a system that has been and continues to be influenced by users. This application was built with the users in mind, and your messages to us, whether they be complaints about the time to receive your map or kudos for the great improvements to the trails data, we are listening and paying attention to that information, and we are using it to inform our future plans. So now let's get to the fun part and learn how you can request your own topographic maps. I will be using slides for the demo, but please feel free to follow along at topobuilder.nationalmap.gov. When you first launch the application from a web browser, you need to first choose your map type. Currently, the only map type is the 7.5-minute on-demand topo. But as I stated earlier, additional product options will be added in future development cycles. The 7.5-minute topo will be selected by default, so there's no need to click to select it. Simply click the next button to confirm and continue with your selection. Once you've clicked next, you will move to the Maps tab. From the Maps tab, you'll need to search for an address or location or zoom to your area of interest. The application will guide you with a message to select your area of interest or zoom in to display the grid. There are currently two options for map extent. With Custom Select, which is selected by default, you click anywhere on the map to create your own 7.5-minute extent shown here in blue. Or to make an on-grid map, choose the Select by Grids button Then click one of the preset 7.5-minute grids shown as an orange or yellow box here. So once you've selected a map or multiple maps, you can select the Edit Layers option to select which national map data you would like included on your output map. Simply uncheck any layers you do not want included on your maps. A user-defined content tag will appear in the map card, and maps will be delivered to you with a user-defined content note in the marginalia, letting you know that the content was modified. It is important to note that this setting applies to all map products in a single order. Every map in this order will have the same set of custom layers. To create maps with different custom layers, simply check out and start a new order. Once you've chosen your layers, you can select your map format. Note that the user-defined content tag has appeared after selecting the custom layers in the previous slide. Our current format options are Geospatial PDF or GeoTIFF. Geospatial PDFs have limited mapping functions like find XY coordinates and measure distance, and can be viewed and printed without specialized software. This format is ideal for non-GIS specialists. GeoTIFF includes georeferenced information, just as with the Geospatial PDF, and it can be used in GIS software as well as image editors. The other customization currently available is contour smoothing. Simply click on the info icon to see detailed information on the contour smoothing options. Low means the contours will be very detailed with the least amount of smoothing. Medium is the default option and will produce contours most similar to what you may have seen on our US Topo products. And high means the contours will be very smooth. Use the slider to select the appropriate smoothing level based on your needs. Now back to the demo. So once you have confirmed your customization options and added your maps to the cart, map or maps to the cart, by checking the checkbox next to the map name and then clicking the Add button. Please note that multiple maps can be selected, and if desired, a subset of your maps can be added to the cart. This example shows one map, but I just wanted to make sure you knew you could request multiple maps at once. So note that the counter next to the word cart tracks the number of items you have added to the cart. Your selected maps and their customizations will be listed here. To change the contour smoothing or format for any map in the cart, click Edit Maps. Just remember to click Save if you've made any changes to your maps in the Edit interface. Either the Save or Cancel button will take you back to the cart. Once you're finished adding maps to the cart, click the Checkout button. A dialog box will appear asking for your email address. Input your email address and simply click Checkout. You will see a confirmation dialog box and the system will begin processing your map. You will receive a confirmation email shortly after checkout. This email includes individual information about each map in your order, including the type of map and all of the customizations you chose. topoBuilder does have a 5-day time frame to complete a map. Your map request will be completed within 5 days and usually much sooner. We are currently averaging a less than 24-hour delivery time. Once your map or maps are ready, you will receive a second email with a direct download link. The file will be available to download for 60 days, and the link expiration date is in the email. The map delivery email can be shared with friends, peers, or coworkers who can also download your map from the same link. At any point after placing an order, you can track its status using the order confirmation number given in your confirmation email. Within the topoBuilder application, go to the Track tab and enter your order number and then click Track. The tracker will show you what state of processing your order is in and if it was delivered on what date. Multiple orders can be tracked at the same time. Just enter another confirmation number in the box. If you do not receive your map within 5 days, please contact our help desk by clicking the envelope icon in your confirmation email. So now that we've completed the demo, I wanted to go over some of the similarities and differences that are important to know about when you're choosing whether you want or need a US Topo or an OnDemand Topo. So both products currently use a similar standard and specification. So these products have a familiar look and feel if you're used to the US Topo products. US Topos offer only the standard USGS 7.5-minute quadrangle extents, whereas US OnDemand Topos, offer that and the custom extent or center point option. US Topos have pre-designed contours based on a specific set of criteria and ranges, where the OnDemand Topos generate the contours on the fly, meaning they could be from more current data than what is seen on a US Topo. US Topos have historically been produced on that 3-year cycle, so depending on when that map was created, the data could be up to 3 years old. With OnDemand Topos, you are getting the best available national map data that we have within our holdings. US Topos are staged maps, meaning they have already been created and are available for download at any time. OnDemand Topos are created upon request. So these are only created when you ask us to via the topoBuilder application. Either way, you can download or request as many maps as you need at no cost. And then here are some more important similarities and differences to consider related to scales and availability across the United States. So we have similar scales for the continental United States and Hawaii, as well as Alaska, and some of the territories. But you will notice that OnDemand Topos offer more availability for requesting maps than US Topo currently offers over the Pacific territories. Last, US Topo is only produced at the scales listed, while OnDemand Topos have multi-scale maps currently in research and development. So not quite yet available, but in research and development. Now I'm just going to do a quick click-through comparison so you can see some of the key differences between these products. The logo or identifier is the first place to look to identify your product. The credit note has slightly different information based on how and when the product was produced. The labels may appear slightly different based on the automatic labeling that is applied to the OnDemand Topos, and the labels could be slightly less dense. And the contour and trail symbology may appear slightly different, or you may be seeing newer data with the red trails that are shown here than you would on the associated US Topo product. So we've done the demo and we've talked about the pilot, and now you have some basic information on how these products are similar or different, but how has this all been going? Well, in the past 1.5 years, we've seen requests covering all states and territories. We have produced and delivered over 300,000 maps to over 72,000 unique users. So why is this so important? If we look back at the history of our program and the advancements in technology, we were able to improve our production cycles from years to months to weeks to days to hours. But still, in order to complete the entire nation, we were still looking at 3 years to publish that entire nation of about 65,000 maps. With topoBuilder and the technology we are now using, we can produce and deliver about 20,000 maps per month compared to 20,000 US topos per year. So now that you're all hopefully excited to try out topoBuilder, you may already be thinking about more customizations or other map types you'd like to see. Well, as we look forward, we are already developing that next product, which will be a 1 to 100,000 scale map called a 100K topo. This is the first time since the early 90s that USGS has produced maps at this scale. These maps have many purposes for things such as regional planning and land management, but also just provide a really great view of a larger area with slightly less content if that's what you're looking for. We also have additional customizations planned, such as print, allowing users to add data from other sources, and GIS data download, to name a few. And we will continually be looking at how we can make the application easier to use. This is a system that we have designed for anyone. We do not want users to have special skills or special software to create these maps. We want the application to be as friendly as possible to help you get the maps that you need. And just one more web page for you all if you'd like to learn more about topoBuilder or the on-demand topo maps. We also post and share updates here as new products or customizations are made available. So I already talked a little bit about why this is important or significant for users, but let's take a moment to talk about why this matters within the USGS and within the federal government. What we're doing now with topoBuilder is more than just getting maps into users' hands, and it isn't just about mapping the nation anymore. It's about how we can use the rich history of topographic mapping at the USGS with the advancements in technology to really improve the status quo. This means we are changing how we work internally. We are more focused on the value add that our map products can provide. We want to make an impact. We want our products to make a difference for those who use and need them. And to do that, we've needed to shift our focus to more innovation. At the end of the day, as a public servant, my goal is to have an impact. My goal is to make a difference. And with this system, we are really looking at how we can build great software using cutting-edge technologies and try to solve these problems to get you the best information and the best maps that we can. topoBuilder is still in its infancy, so how we continue to develop this system and meet these innovative initiatives is something that we ourselves are continuing to develop and learn. If you want more, we do too, and we are working diligently to add more to this system. If we don't have everything that you want today, please check back, please visit our website, follow us on social media, and we will keep you updated on new developments with this part of our program. So, we've looked at where we've been and where we are, but what does the future hold? So, artificial intelligence, or AI, is the next stage of innovative technology. Within geography and cartography, we call this GeoAI. In the future, GeoAI capabilities will be able to use deep learning to simultaneously operate multiple machines in the cloud, each with a large amount of data and memory to serve geographical information. This has major applications to improve modeling, planning, resource allocations, and decision-making. We do have a team of researchers within USGS that are looking at machine or deep learning, and I'm excited to see what the application of GeoAI can and will mean for the USGS and our mapping programs. So with that, I hope you all give topoBuilder a try and maybe even check out some of our other products if you haven't before. And if at any point you have any questions or need support, please feel free to reach out to our National Map Help Desk or our National Map Liaisons. These folks are friendly and responsive and are truly invested in the customer service side of our work, and they have a wealth of knowledge and information to assist you. So now I'd like to open it up to the team coordinating this session to facilitate our Q&A. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
It would help if I unmuted my mic. Thank you, Ariel. That was great talk. I've been a mapper and mapping for 30 plus years here at USGS, and I learned a whole bunch, so thank you. Before we begin our Q&A portion of the lecture, just a friendly reminder, if you would like to submit a question, please click on the question mark icon. We've been monitoring questions that have come through so far, and I will go ahead and ask those out loud first, and we will do our very best to get to all of your questions. So one of our first questions was someone asked is, what are the standard dimensions if I want to get a map file printed at the print store?
So I should have had this handy on my desktop. I can't remember the exact page size of the file off the top of my head, but if you email that TNM help desk, they'll be able to answer that question for you within minutes.
It is somewhere around 27 by 30.
Yes, varying based on where you are in the country. So some slight variance there.
Right. They had a question that somebody was asking if the talk slides are going to be made available to attendees. I have sent him my email, and I will hopefully he'll get back to me and I can send them off to him.
Okay.
Somebody else asked about the National Map Services link. Didn't work, the one you had, so I gave them the correct one. So I think we're okay there. Let's see, we're getting a couple more questions. Compliment was very well done, Ariel. You rock. Let's see. Thank you for your lecture. How could the USGS impact future generations? Could these topo maps reach African countries as well?
So the mission of our program is to map the United States. There are other parts of USGS that do provide maps for other areas of the world, but within our program specifically, our mission is the United States.
Right, okay. Let's see. In the past, topo maps I made contain the names of the landowners. Now I can't see this option. Please advise.
Yep, that is correct. So historical topographic maps do contain different and in some cases more information than our current US Topo products do. So that is part of the content changes that I discussed, where we are continually and continuously evaluating content to see if that's something that we can add back to the maps. But as of right now, you are correct, that data does not exist on our current products.
Interesting. I didn't know it was there to begin with. Okay, I don't think we have any more questions at the moment. I'll give people a couple of minutes or so to see if they have any other questions. It's really nice to see how this program has advanced in the last couple of years. I was on the team doing the initial evaluations, and it has improved dramatically since then. Okay, another question, is aerial photography still used with making these maps?
So we do have aerial imagery that is included on the products. That comes from the National Agricultural Imagery Program from the USDA. So all of our US topos do include imagery. Our on-demand topos include imagery as well, and you have the choice of whether you'd like to turn that on or off with the layer control within TopoBuilder. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yes, I think it did.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. Will there be an option to use historical data along with current data to view changes over time?
So I love this idea. This is something that has been asked before. And one of the things that we have looked at within the TopoBuilder platform is whether we can provide an option for a user to choose their own base map. So they could choose a historical map. And the great thing about TopoView is you could select right from that date slider, choose any date that you want, put that in as your base map, and then just layer the current data on top. However, if your question is about, are we going to be providing historic data available, that is something that we have researchers looking into, how we can extract features from our historical topographic maps, but we haven't quite gotten to the point of figuring out whether that research will be fruitful enough for us to make that data itself available. And again, let me know if that didn't answer the question.
Oh, I think that did. And let's see. Hang on here. Is there any way to make reprints of past? Yeah, somebody's asking, is there any way to make reprints of the past versions with the landowner information? I think you covered that.
Yeah, as of right now, because of the requirements and standards that we have for nationally consistent authoritative data across the entire nation and a similar standard and spec, that information is not something that we can immediately add back to the topos. Now, one of the things that we have looked at with the user added data for TopoBuilder, which is something that is still in development, is if there was a way for you to find an authoritative source for that, if you could put that on top of your on-demand topo. So that may be a capability that becomes available in the future, and not just for land ownership information. It could be a variety of other data. We've had people who want to add weather data, animal migration patterns, species information, things like that. And so we're really in the research phases of figuring out how we can add that content, but that could be an option for this person who's asking the question in the future.
Okay. Okay, good. Let's see. A bunch of questions here. How do you rectify the border faults?
How do we rectify the border faults?
Not quite sure what that means. But...
Yeah, I apologize if I'm not understanding that question. That would be another one I would suggest. If you'd like to send us a follow-up at our TNM help, we can try and get you an answer to that one.
Okay. Let's see, are there any areas restricted? Area 51 or Washington, D.C. or any other areas? Is this noted on the maps, or do they just omit details?
Okay, so we do have a FAQ posted on that USGS website about this exact topic. For the US Topo products themselves, there are some areas that are not included in the US Topo collection, and that is not because it's Area 51 or some type of secret facility. It's because there is no NAIP, that National Aerial Imagery Program data that I mentioned earlier, available in those areas. US Topo has a very specific set of criteria and specifications that have to be met, and because there is no imagery, those maps are not produced. Now, however, with TopoBuilder, you can go in and request those maps. They may be missing imagery if you're overlapping one of those areas. You may have partial imagery, but you can absolutely request those maps from the OnDemand Topo or TopoBuilder system.
Okay, good. Can you save a custom extent?
Like save it to reuse multiple times? If that's the question. So if you want to reproduce the map of the same exact custom extent multiple times. This is also something that another user has submitted, so I love these questions. We have been looking into whether that's possible. Right now, you would just need to click on the same extent, and I understand it could be hard to click at the exact same XY coordinates. But as of right now, that's the way that you would reproduce the same map multiple times if, for example, you wanted to see newer data. But we have an item in our backlog to look at whether there's a way to kind of save the bounding box or something like that and reproduce that same map multiple times. I hope I answered that question. Want to make sure I'm fully understanding. So let me know if not.
Okay, and from an Andy S, he says, FYI, maps in Canas, Hawaii, and Alaska are 24 by 29. Maps in the territories are 29 by 35 and a half.
Thank you, so, Andy. Andy is one of my coworkers. I appreciate that, Andy. I knew there was some variance.
Okay, and from Linda wants to know, are there any plans to add geology to the maps?
So geology would be another item that would fall under that added data item, where people could add geologic information just like they could species information or the other items that we mentioned. There's not any plans at this time to create a geologic specific map, but we have been looking at how we can add geologic data on top of the other content through user added content.
Okay, I also point out to that person that they can check the National Geologic Map database as well. There are tons of geologic maps already available. And those can be usually downloaded and ported to your phone or laptop. Let's see, is it clear how to take a map onto your phone? Is there offline mapping?
So you can download the map and use it with offline access, but you will still need an internet connection to actually download the map and then use the GPS capabilities so that you can actually navigate on the map. There's a really helpful video that we have that one of the ones I highlighted before on how to do that. It works with historic topo maps, US Topo maps, on-demand topo maps. I can't necessarily say every single app developer out there that we've tested every single system, but it is very easy. You can download it and use it for offline access. But again, if you're offline, you may not have those tracking capabilities to track your location.
Right, okay. Another question was, sorry I missed the first half hour. Are custom downloads georeferenced?
Yes, they are. All of the files are georeferenced.
Right. There are several third-party programs which are web-based, such as Caltopo, comments on Caltopo similarities and differences.
Yes, so we have looked at Caltopo. There's a variety of commercial options out there to do things similar to what we are doing. And there's a variety of commercial partners out there who are doing more than what we are doing or different things than what we are doing. So I would say what's unique about what we have right now is, at least compared to our previous products, you can do the custom center point. You're getting access to the best available national map data, so the best data that we have within our own databases, and you have these customization options at absolutely no cost. Now, what I would say I would love to see in the future is users or companies, providers, et cetera, like Caltopo, Gaia, Avenza, some of these other companies, looking at what we've done with topoBuilder and seeing if they can value add to it. And if there's something else that they can add that would provide even more benefit for their customers and their user base.
Okay, let's see. Another question was, data enrichment was mentioned. Will the source of the enrichment come from users or will it come from a USGS database?
So that would be So the data enrichment that we're looking at is on the USGS side for USGS data holdings, and most specifically national map data holdings. So that will all be on our side, unless I'm misunderstanding the question. Now, again, I would go back to kind of the user added content piece of if there's something you want to add to the map, we want to expose that capability for you. But we're looking at things like, how can we make our data more map ready so that it's delivered to the system in a state that's optimized for map production so it gets to you faster? How can we look at generalizing our data so that we can have multi-scale data to meet the requirements of those multi-scale maps? So that's the type of data enrichment that we're really looking at internally, and it is in our national map data.
Okay, let's see. Is it possible to customize contour range colors?
Ooh, that's a good one. I don't think that's a request we've received before. It is not possible right now, but I will add a note for that. We have a pretty big backlog, but I'm going to add a note for that one because that hasn't been requested before, and that might be a nice addition.
Yeah, okay, let's see. One person asked, what is the cost of getting a printed map? And I think they're $15, if I recall correctly.
Yes, from the USGS store, but you're welcome to take your files elsewhere as well. You can, that video that I showed on how to print the maps actually shows different printing options, whether you want it to print on a printer at home, whether you want to print it out for other purposes. So you can do different page sizes, different printing options, and order through the USGS store as well as other private print providers.
Okay, let's see. Got a bunch of other questions here. I think I'm going to break it down to maybe one or two more here. The person asked on the border faults, it's where quadrangles meet, but line work doesn't match up.
I think I'll still need more to be able to answer that question because I'm not sure what line work that would mean. If it's the contours, we do have processes for our shaded relief and contour generation process to essentially blend and smooth the DEM data, but that's really more about elevation data collection than it is about fault lines. So I would suggest maybe sending a follow-up because I want to make sure I'm answering that question properly.
Yeah, good. Okay, last question here. Where did you get inspiration for topographic maps? Was it all from people's suggestions, or did you also take information from other countries' maps?
Oh, so I'm going to try to answer this one, but I may not have all of the historical information here. And I think that this question is about the design of the maps. So, there was a lot of classic cartography that was in use from the early days of USGS on how contours are shown, how hydrography or water data is shown, things like that. As we went through the modernization efforts for US Topo, I know that there were a variety of activities within the program to look at different maps, to look at different options for styling, cartography, and design. And what we have today is ultimately what was decided upon. So I don't know exactly where those maps were that they looked at. That was actually before my time in this part of the program. But if you'd like more on that, I can definitely answer that if you want to send a follow-up on that one as well.
Okay, one other question. I'm just going to, because this was a really good question. Have the maps been checked for how they display for those with color blindness?
Oh, I will have to look into that one as well. I know that our symbology can get quite complex with the amount of content and data that we have and good ways of representing those features separately. We have implemented 508 compliance on newly produced US Topo products, but I am not 100% certain about the color blindness thing. So if you send an email, we can provide an answer for that as well.
Okay, and yeah, that would be to tnm_help@usgs.gov.
Correct.
Okay. Again, Ariel, I'd like to thank you again for your talk today and answering all those questions from our audience. And thanks to all of you for joining us tonight. This lecture will be available for on-demand viewing in about a week on our website at www.usgs.gov/PLS. You can also see many of our previous recordings on the website under the multimedia section for videos. If you would like to subscribe to be part of our monthly mailing list, feel free to send us an email at wmcesic@usgs.gov, and we will happily add you to the list. Remind you, next month's public lecture will be on Thursday, July 20th, 2003 at 6 p.m. when Andrea Creighton from the USGS Colorado Water Science Center will talk about snowpack dynamics. Hope to see you then. Have a good evening, everybody.